Hi guys, I'm back to give you a video update for his post-op check that was Monday. It's now Wednesday, so I'm 2 days behind, but we've been really busy around here. So Bentley had his 2-week post-op check on Monday. It went fabulously. The only thing, his tongue was pretty tight, so she did have to do an extra stretch on him, really pull up on his tongue. He bled. But that can be normal, so she just told me to keep doing what I'm doing, but more firm. So the rolling pin motion I was telling you guys about, where you go like this under their tongues, inside their mouth, obviously, I have to do that more firm and put more pressure, as I'm going towards the back of his tongue, because we want to elevate it as high as we can towards his palate or the top of his mouth. And then there's also the side-to-side one that you do. And so she said just worry mostly about the rolling pin one and just getting that tongue elevated, as high as you can, just to really give it a good stretch. She said that he was pretty tight, and she said I stretched him pretty good. And he did bleed, but that's fine. He was easily consolable after I picked him up when she was done, and he was fine. I'm sure it hurt him to have it kind of, because I'm sure she had to reopen it because he was bleeding. But, that comes with the territory. We knew that was possible. At this point, he doesn't need another revision. He doesn't need to have surgery again. I just have to be more forceful with the stretches. So I'm trying my best to do that. I have been for the past couple of days. And we actually see her again tomorrow to double check. So tomorrow morning, 3 days after the initial post-op check, the 2-week check. So we'll see if my 3 days of doing the extra stretches and doing it a little bit more firm has helped or is enough, or do I need to do it even more. So it is hard to get your little fingers in there, especially with Bentley. He's so, his muscles and everything, it's so tight from lack of use for so many months that it's hard for him to deal with having something in his mouth like that. Another thing I'm working on is doing sort of cheek stretches, jaw stretches. He started solids, so that helps him because he opens his mouth to eat and swallow and use his tongue and all that. So we're doing solids. We're up to 3 times a day. I started out just once a day, as you guys know, for a couple of days to make sure he tolerated it. Did great. Went to twice a day, did great. Now he's up to 3 times a day. And we started 3 times a day, I believe, yesterday. It's on my feeding log. We started 3 times a day yesterday, and he loves peas. He's had everything sweet so far, but tried peas yesterday, and he absolutely loves them, just like his brother did. He loves vegetables, so good to go on that. And he's doing great. So the fantastic news I have is that my last video was about giving up and just being really down about the whole journey, really, and wanting to give up. Well, I'm not giving up. I've had much encouragement in the past, since that video, the past 6 days. My milk supply continues to increase. I'm doing really well with that, and I swear I think it's mostly the Gatorade, I think. I don't know. But it could be because of his tongue procedure. It's healing, and even though he did need a stretch on Monday and he was a little bit tight, every day he gets better and his tongue gets better at nursing and all, or at least helping him nurse, So my supply is doing pretty well. It hasn't leveled off. It hasn't gone down, which is great. It's continuing to go up. And actually, I was just looking at his feeding log before I started the video, just over the past 7 days. Now we do, if he nurses for only 5 minutes or 7 minutes or something on both sides, and I know in my heart he hasn't gotten a good feeding for whatever reason, maybe his tongue is sore, maybe he just couldn't latch, whatever. If I know he needs a supplement after, I'll give him one. So we're still supplementing with bottles after nursing, or occasionally, like this morning, for example, he nursed around 9 a.m. Let me see. He nursed around 9. He had a really good nursing at 4:30 this morning. His morning nursings are really good. The 4 or 5 a.m. nursings are really, really good. And occasionally he'll wake up around midnight for an extra feeding as well. And so those two are always really good. I'm always really, really full at those times. And research has shown that the milk production is at its highest between 2 and 5 a.m. So that's probably something to do with that. But he did nurse at 9 a.m. However, it wasn't for very long, maybe 10 minutes. He just didn't seem interested for some reason, and which is weird. It had been 4.5 hours since he ate. Either way, so I proceeded to do other things, feed Maverick and get him ready for school. Today was a school day for him. And I could tell, though, about 30 minutes later, he was still fussy. And see, after he fed, he seemed satiated and he was playing in his seat with his toys, but I still had to pump. Because if he doesn't nurse for 15 or 20 minutes, that's not a good feeding for me. And my body needs to know that it needs to be stimulated. It's supply and demand, so, the more demand, the more supply. So I can't just do a 5 or 7 minute or even 10-minute nursing session and say, oh, well, that's enough. I have to pump afterwards. Now, I was pumping after every feed or most feeds for a while. I've stopped doing that because, as Stacy, we had a long talk last week when I was talking about giving up this whole thing because of how stressful everything is on me and everything I have to do. And she said, you know what, just back off the pumps. You don't have to pump after every feeding. Just pump once at night. Don't wake up in the middle of the night. So I took her advice on that. And and last week, actually, it was last Thursday, actually. I think it was the night of the video, after I posted the video. I pumped at 9 o'clock and I said, that's it. That's my one pump. I usually do 2 at night after the kids go to bed, and then I also would wake up around 3 or 2 a.m. to pump. And I said, that's it. I'm putting this to bed. Fell asleep shortly thereafter around 9:30 or 10, and then Bentley woke up around, I believe he woke up around, it was early, so it was 2 or 3 a.m. the next, that late that night the next morning. And by then, I was ready to pump, so I was really full. So I said, well, let me just nurse him. And this is sounding familiar, so maybe I already told you guys this. But I was able to nurse him, and I said, well, forget that. I'm not waking up to pump in the middle of the night anymore, ever again. I'm just going to wake up when he wakes up to feed him. So I've started to do that. But anyhow, whenever he doesn't get a really good feeding, I have to pump so that my body still knows, yes, this baby needs 20 to 30 minutes of stimulation to produce enough milk. So I did pump, and I got 3 ounces, and I thought, okay, wow, he didn't get anything, maybe 1 or 2 ounces off me. What's wrong with him? Why isn't he hungry? But sure enough, 30 minutes later, he started crying and fussing, so I gave him the 3-ounce bottle of milk that I had just pumped, and which is fine. It's breast milk, so I don't care how he gets it as long as he gets it. And that was it. And he was fine. We took Mav to school, and then when we got back, I fed him some solids for sort of a late breakfast, I guess. It was actually close to 11 because we had to make a stop on the way home. And he's asleep now. He's been asleep. It's almost 1 o'clock. He's been asleep since about 11:30 or so. And so when he wakes up, I'll probably, hopefully, be full enough to breastfeed him. But I did want to tell you guys, over the past 7 days, just looking at the feeding log, we are doing really well with not having to use a lot of formula. He's had, in the past 7 days, we've had to give him 20 ounces of formula, and I'm talking about the supplements after I feed him, like I just explained that we do. He doesn't get bottles in the middle of the night anymore. I'm his bottles in the middle of the night, which is wonderful. I love it. I love it. Love it. And my husband loves it too, I'm sure. But, so these are supplements if he doesn't feed well enough, or if I happen to have pumped and 2 hours later he happens to be hungry or something, I'm nowhere near full enough to feed him, so I have to give him a bottle. So, over the past 7 days, 20 ounces of formula and 56.5 ounces of breast milk extra. So, he's getting, almost, what is that? Almost 3 times as much breast milk as formula now in his supplements. It used to be 50-50. Now it's more like 75-25, I think, maybe. No, that's wrong. I don't know. I'm not that great with math right now, but but it's great. It's absolutely great. It means my supply is keeping up with him, or at least trying to really keep up with him. it's just wonderful. Also, the biggest thing on Monday, the Dr. Wirtz, she said, well, do you want to get a weight? And I was like, yes, please, because he felt a little bit heavier to me, but you know, with him, I always don't get my hopes up. You guys, he weighed 14 pounds, 2 ounces, and that is, he was weighed previously on July 29th, and that was when he had a weight loss. So he was down to 12.4 that day on July 29th. So 11 days later, he gained 30 ounces. He gained 2 ounces shy of 2 pounds in 11 days. And I did start solids about a week after that very first feeding, first weigh-in, and that has something to do with it, I'm sure, but I just think I'm making more milk, and obviously he's getting a lot more of my milk. So, you guys, he is up to 14.2. We'll probably get another weight tomorrow when we see Dr. Wirtz again. Like I said, she wants to check his tongue again. But he woke up, so he's crying. I'm sorry if you hear that in the background. But you guys, I'm so excited because when we saw his pediatrician at his 4-month wild child checkup on July 1st, she said try to get him in the upper 12s, maybe 13 pounds by his 6-month visit. And his 6-month visit is, I still can't remember, it's like the 20-something, the 20, I don't know. It's in like 2 weeks, I think, maybe a week and a half. And so I think by then he'll probably be really close to 15 pounds, which would be a 4-pound gain in 2 months, and that's what he was doing before he had all of his problems. So I just want to say I'm so happy he's gaining weight, and my milk supply is doing great. So I'm not giving up at all. If anything, I am trucking it along and just full speed ahead. I've had so much support and encouragement from you guys and from my virtual world and everybody else. But I wanted you guys to know that quick update about him with his post-op check for his tongue. He's crying, so I'm going to go get him and finally give you guys a pretty short video as opposed to my 20-minute long ones. And also I wanted to tell you he's getting really fat. He's 14 too, so we're doing great. Mama's doing great, baby's doing great, and I'll update again after tomorrow's appointment, probably Friday or maybe early part of next week, just to see how things are going, but we're doing well. So we're going to keep on doing it, and if you're struggling, if you're feeling down, if you're, watch my videos. Hopefully I've been encouraging. If you have questions, please reach out to me, and just keep going. Any amount is better than none at all, but fed is best. So if you have to give formula, you do, and don't beat yourself up over it. So I still hate to give it to him, but if he needs it, he needs it. We want him to be fed. That's the most important thing. I'm going to go get him and try to feed him, and see you guys next time. Bye.